Hey, welcome to the Black and Gold Standard Podcast. And today we want to get into the position matchups between the Pittsburgh Steelers and the Cleveland Browns. This Week 17 game. This used to be a big rivalry game. I kind of think it's still somewhat of a rivalry, but it's not as big as it used to be. Just for the fact of these teams are kind of polar opposites somewhat. For it to be a good rivalry game, they seem like both teams kind of got to be on the same level. And for the most part, for the last few years, the Pittsburgh Steelers have been a better team than the Cleveland Browns. Just keep, it is what it is. But this is a very important game for both teams. I think the Browns, they just want to finish the season on a strong note. Myles Garrett is going for the sack record, so I'm quite sure he definitely would love to break that record against the Pittsburgh Steelers, because him and TJ kind of got their little, used to have their little thing going, but the Browns are playing for that, and then probably a lot of guys on the Browns were starting with their coach. He's probably trying to keep his job. You got Shedeur Sanders, which he's still trying to show the Browns that he could be their quarterback moving forward. What else they have? That's really about it. And then obviously on the Pittsburgh Steelers, point, they, this could be a actually, depending on what happens on Saturday, if the Baltimore Ravens lose against Green Bay, then the division to be locked up, and really the Steelers are not playing for anything, even though I would hope that they still play their guys. That's the first thing. You just don't want to. I don't care what the situation is, and I understand you got to be smart. You got to be smart with your players. My thing would be, play your guys, get the game, and once the game is really decided, then you can start moving, getting guys out of there. But I would like to see them still play, because this is, to have 2 weeks of guys not playing is going to be pretty rough. And I think TJ, I read something that he's not playing in this game. So you're not going to see him into the playoffs. So, I would think if the Steelers do have the division locked up before the kickoff on Sunday, I think you probably will try to, get some guys out the game. And then obviously Week 18, that last game against Baltimore, they probably won't play anybody as far as, a lot of the starters. But, with that said, like I say, this is still a game that I would like to see them win, regardless of what's going on, because you just never want to lose to the Cleveland Browns. Hello, Yolanda. I know it's been a rough year for you. Wow. I don't know. I haven't heard anything about Lamar. Is he scheduled to play on Saturday, or is he going to sit out? I think the last thing I seen was it was still up in the air, but I haven't seen anything else. But like I say, it's a game that I want to see the Steelers keep moving forward, get that offensive line, get those guys some more time out there. This can really be a huge confidence game for them, as far as, because the Browns, they have a good defense. Now their defense is solid. Their defensive line is solid, and obviously you got Myles Garrett, and so Myles Garrett, he could either give these guys a lot of confidence if they can block him and definitely keep him from setting the record, or Myles Garrett can kind of take these guys' confidence as far as not having a good game against them. Me personally, like I say, I just want to see the Steelers just keep growing, just keep this thing in the positive, direction, because I mean, me, and I know a lot of people want to get on me saying I'm negative and all that, but it's not about me being negative. I just try to be honest and I try to keep it real. And one of the things that I took out of Sunday is the Detroit Lions showed that they got a problem. Excuse me, that wasn't Sunday. That was Christmas. The Detroit Lions have a problem. Their offensive line, with their center out and the guys that they're missing, the Detroit Lions have fell apart. So, I mean, yeah, can we be positive that we won that game against Detroit? Yes. I mean, like I say, you're always gonna be happy for a win, but you can't get overboard with that, because that's a bad Detroit Lions team right now. They're out of flux. Their offensive line is bad, and they let Minnesota kind of take them apart. And I mean, the Steelers got to look at, as good as they played and as bad as Detroit played, it came down almost to the last play to get the win. So it ain't like you went in Detroit and just totally smashed these guys and dominated them. But with that said, let's move on and get into these matchups with the Cleveland Browns. And let's see what's going on. So as you can see, the Pittsburgh Steelers are 9-6. Cleveland Browns are 3-12. The Steelers can lock up the division two types of ways. Either the Baltimore Ravens can lose on Saturday against the Green Bay Packers, or the Pittsburgh Steelers can, I think if Baltimore wins, I think if the Pittsburgh Steelers just beat the Cleveland Browns, the division is theirs. So, it's two ways they can get it. But I don't want the Steelers to look at as, we just hoping for Baltimore to win. I think they have to take care of their business, and I want to see them take care of their business, even if they do have the division locked up. I don't want them just to kind of lay down and relax. I don't think it's time for that. And I think this team is still, got some things they need to work on and try to fix. So when we look at the offense, as you can see, total offense, Pittsburgh Steelers ranked 27th in the NFL. The Cleveland Browns ranked 30th. And total rush offense, Pittsburgh Steelers ranked 26th, and the Cleveland Browns ranked 28th. Total pass offense, Pittsburgh ranks 22nd, Cleveland Browns ranked 30th. So just looking at those numbers, I mean, it's kind of those are some hard numbers to kind of to swallow, as a Pittsburgh Steelers fan, and this is a team that that's headed into the playoffs. So, like I say, this team still has some work in progress, to try to get done. But as you can see, the Cleveland Browns are definitely really struggling on offense. So that's where I think the Pittsburgh Steelers can really take control of this game and limit the Browns. Because I think, to be honest, the Browns struggle to get to 20 points. They struggle to get to 20 points. So I think if the Steelers get over 20, 22 points, they should really win this game. Because, like I say, the Browns, they struggle in scoring. They struggle in moving the ball. Well, they do move the ball a little bit, but they struggle of getting the ball in the end zone. So with that said, let's talk about the quarterbacks. Does Aaron Rodgers play the whole game? again. I want to see Aaron Rodgers come out hot. I want to see him put points on the board real quick, and then maybe he can get on out the game. But I want this game to be decided before he gets out, and you could put this team to sleep real quick. You could put them to sleep real quick. If you look at the game they had last week against the Buffalo Bills, Buffalo ran the ball. I mean, Josh Allen only threw for like 100-some yards against this team, but they ran the ball. And I think the Steelers can do the same thing, and that'll get that offensive line a little bit more confidence, running the ball. Because the Browns are a very good defense. They run, and it's weird because they rank high against the run, but they just can't stop. And I think I think it's one of those situations. They might rank high against the run because I think everybody is just passing the ball on them. I don't know what's going on with their rankings, but I just want to see a quick, sharp game from Rodgers, and then maybe by the second half, or sometime in the second half, you can get him out of there, and the Steelers can have this game. On the flip side, the Browns are still trying to evaluate Shedeur Sanders to see, is he a guy that they can move forward with, or do they have to use one of those picks they have and get a quarterback? Right now, Shedeur, I really expect the Pittsburgh Steelers defense to get after him. He still takes a lot of sacks. He'll have some good plays. He'll have some good plays here and there, but he's only completing like 50% of his passes. He still do that whirly bird, and that gets him in trouble, and he takes sacks off of that. You can confuse him with different coverages. So I see the Steelers really, really, really getting to him and, taking advantage of his inexperience. So with that said, I'm giving the quarterback matchup to Aaron Rodgers. On running back with the Browns, they had a Jenkins. He had a bad injury last week. A good rookie running back. He was on his way to 1,000 yards, but they won't have him this week. Actually, he's out for the rest of the year. So I think with Warren and with Gainwell, I think the Steelers just need to run the ball and really let these two guys win this game for you. I think it can be done. I think the Browns defense have kind of, even though they're ranked high, I think those guys have kind of 1, 2, 3 Cancun. And the one way that you can just really get those guys to kind of put that white flag up is run the ball down their throat, be physical, put some points on the board, let their offense do a lot of 3 and outs, and let their offense show that they have no chance of winning this game, and that it'll fold. The house will collapse. So with that said, I'm giving the advantage to the Pittsburgh Steelers with that. Wide receivers, the Steelers are hurting. No Austin, no DK Metcalf because of the suspension. So I'm thinking MVS and Allen Thielen probably going to be your starting receivers. But I just don't really think the Steelers are going to really throw the ball a lot in this game. I mean, I think if the running game does what I think it can do, it'll be a lot of play action, opportunities there for them. But, but on the flip side, the Browns got Jerry Jeudy, which really haven't really had a good year at all. And it's kind of understandable. Really 3 starting quarterbacks, so that's probably an issue. Isaiah Bond, him and Shedeur, really, they do have a a good thing going. He usually hits him on a big play every week. But I think just really on both sides, the receivers are not going to really be a big factor in this game. But you know what? I gave that just, and it's really just because of the fact that, like I said, the Steelers are down receivers right now. So I'm gonna give the Browns the advantage on that, because if any team really needs to use their receivers, I think the Browns got some guys that's going to be available to them that not the best, but like I say, the Steelers are really struggling in the receiver position, especially this week with the injuries and the suspension. Tied in. Harold Fannin, a big time rookie for the Browns. Like honestly, when you look at this draft, the Browns really hit it. I have to admit it. They hit this draft out the ballpark. They got some solid players. They got some good players that is really doing pretty good. And Fannin is one. And honestly, they really use him. I mean, he's a tight end, but they really use him more as a receiver. So that's another reason why I kind of gave the receiver thing to the Browns, just for the fact of Fannin is really more a receiver than tight end, and Shador looks for him. And he's going to get he'll get 5 or 6 catches off about 10 targets. So he's a big part of their offense, especially in the red zone. They look for him in the red zone. But I get it the advantage to the Steelers just because of the 3-headed monster they have with Freiermuth and Washington and Jones. So with that said, I get that. I get that to the Steelers. I get that matchup to the Steelers. And then on offensive line, I'm definitely giving that to the Steelers. The Cleveland Browns offensive line is a total disaster right now. Their tackles are bad. Their guards are just pretty good guys. They're just old. That's where they need to put all their draft capital is in their offensive line, because their offensive line is really, really struggling right now. So with that said, the Steelers offensive line is kind of, the arrow is pointing up right now for them. So we'll see how that goes. And we'll just go from there. All right. Now we're going to look at these defensive numbers. The defense is, as you can see for the Steelers, total defense. Pittsburgh Steelers ranked 28th. Cleveland Browns ranked 2nd. Total rush defense. Pittsburgh Steelers moving up. That 15 yards performance by Detroit last week really got them going. And the Pittsburgh Steelers moved all the way up to 15th. The Cleveland Browns is 14th. But that's very misleading, because the last few weeks, they have not been able to stop the run whatsoever. And the total pass defense, Pittsburgh Steelers are 29th. Cleveland Browns are 1st. And I think they're 1st because nobody's really passing the ball on them. They're running it on them. So, like I said, Josh Allen threw for 100 yards last week, but it wasn't because he was shut down. It was just the fact that the Steelers, that Buffalo didn't have to pass the ball. They were, Cook was probably getting 6-7 yards a crack. So Allen really didn't. All Allen had to do was sit back and hand the ball off and, throw a couple of passes just to keep everybody honest, but wasn't a big passing week. So with that said, the defensive ends, edges, we just going to go ahead and just get that to the Cleveland Browns. Myles Garrett, 22 sacks, looking for the record. The Steelers won't have TJ Watt. Herbert may play, but he probably is going to be a candidate to get a quick hook, depending on how this game goes. So, with that said, I gave that advantage to the Browns. Defensive tackles, man, Can Hayward, and I hope he saves some of this. He's actually playing very well right now. Bennett is playing very well. Those guys are being stout against the run, getting after the quarterback. So I'm giving that advantage to the Steelers. I think that's a situation where the Steelers are can really do some damage against the Browns offensive line up the middle with these defensive tackles. And like I say, I hope Cam saves some for the playoffs. I don't know how much more he got in his tank, but I suspect Cam to be another candidate that probably get out of this game fairly early, just depending on how the game goes. And and kind of save him. Linebackers, the linebackers. To be honest, I kind of like the Cleveland Browns linebackers, and believe it or not, and I don't know what the world's going on. They've actually been able to actually make Devin Bush a viable player right now. So I'm going to kind of get an edge to the Browns linebackers, even though I think they're probably making all those tackles 5-6 yards down the field. So that really probably not really doing too much. But Queen is actually playing very well. On the last couple of weeks, he's played very well. Wilson, Wilson kind of he's kind of up and down right now. But I think he should be okay moving forward. But I'm gonna give that advantage to the Browns. And then when it comes to the cornerbacks, I think right now, Pittsburgh Steelers really got the advantage there. I mean, you got Denzel Ward, which I don't think he hasn't played in the last three weeks or so. Made another Pro Bowl, which I don't understand how. But the Steelers, you got this is probably the deepest position on the football team right now, with Porter playing well. You have Ashanti Samuels, which is still, he's running himself back into shape and making plays. You won't have Echols this week, it don't look like. Pierre, I'm really not sure on him. So actually, the Steelers have some injuries in that position, but the depth has really kind of helped them, to keep it moving. So I'm giving that advantage to the Steelers. And then when it comes to the safeties, let's go Browns. Let's go with the Browns again. Just going off their numbers, those guys have not played bad. Dale Pitt leading the way, but again, the Steelers are really playing good at the safety position. Also with Jalen Ramsey made the Pro Bowl, Duggar. So the Steelers are playing pretty good, but I think Ramsey's probably going to have to move down to the nickel, and we're going to have to play Clark there. So that was another reason I kind of went with the Browns, just for the fact the Steelers going to have to shuffle some guys around. And I think Ramsey's probably going to play in the nickel more than he's going to play safety this game. Special teams. Again, the Boz, even though Boz kind of let us down last week, he missed a chip shot 20-yard kick that he usually don't miss. But the Steelers special teams are much better than the Cleveland Browns. The Cleveland Browns have a rookie kicker that's very inconsistent. And if it comes down to a kick, I'm definitely putting my money on the Boz. As far as coaching, I think this coaching staff for the Cleveland Browns are basically coaching for their jobs, and Mike Tomlin is coaching to get into the playoffs and get a playoff victory. So basically, with that, I'm gonna get a coaching. I'm gonna get a coaching edge to the Pittsburgh Steelers, even though the Browns are doing very well with their defensive side coaching. The offense is just struggling, and I think it's more just personnel than really coaching. But with that said, that's it. We're going to go to prediction time, and I think this game is going to be – the score I have is pretty close, but I don't think it's going to be as close as the score may indicate. I just think the Browns may get a late score, and the Steelers pretty much is going to be in that prevent mode, holding on, at the end of the game. And I think the Steelers win this game 21-13. Like I say, I think the Browns offense at this point struggles to get to 20 points. And I think the Steelers would do just enough to take control of this game. And like I say, maybe the Browns get a late touchdown at the end to kind of make it look like a decent game. But I think the Steelers will have total control of this game and win it 21-13. So with that, that's it about with the matchups. And we will talk to you guys later. Talk to you guys on probably Sunday. Yeah, actually, we'll talk Sunday after the game on our post-game show. So until then, make sure that you like and subscribe and enjoy your weekend. And until then, take care, and I will talk to you later. Bye-bye.